This program has been approved for one IDCEC CEU. To receive credit for this program, please submit your full name, IDCEC number, program class code, and your summary essay to ceu@iida.org. The program class code is located alongside the title of this program on the IIDA Academy page. For a certificate of completion to use toward another certifying body, please submit the same information to ceu@iida.org. Thank you.
And welcome to Season 7, Episode 1 of Collective Design. We are so excited to kick off our 7th season today with the business of creativity.
Hey there, good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time zone you are joining us from. Thanks for that introduction. I'm so excited about today's conversation. So welcome everyone to Collective Design, Season 7, Episode 1. We are opening up with the business of creativity. We're going to shine a spotlight on creativity and how we leverage it both in life and work. And to support this conversation, I have an incredible panel of experts joining us today. Our first panelist is Valerie Jardon. Valerie is the Managing Director of Strategy and a Principal at IA Interior Architects in Chicago. Hey, Valerie. Also joining us is Yong In, who is an Assistant Professor of Practice at Purdue University. There's Yong. Thank you so much. And Suzanne Lefebvre, Vice President and Design Leader at CannonDesign. Cheers and welcome to this fantastic panel. And I am so excited about this conversation. And let's jump in with a little bit of myth busting. There are a lot of misconceptions out there about what creativity is and what creativity isn't. Let's start with some setting the record straight. Valerie, do you want to kick us off on setting the record straight on creativity?
Absolutely. I think my number one go-to is it does not mean you are right-brained or left-brained. You use your whole brain when you're being creative. And so that's my one big myth when it comes to creativity and the way we respond to it that I would love to debunk.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Suzanne?
Well, it's something you do. It's active. It's not something you just have. It's innate. I know all of us have it, and we're around it all the time, and we're around, people in the arts, aesthetics. So that's creativity, but it is all around us, and we have to work at it. So it's something active, and it's something you have to generate. So we are always working towards it, and it's something we love to do, but it is a job for us too as well, and we learn through it. So
that's an incredible point of view, right? It's not just something that you are, it's something that you do.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And Yang, your thoughts?
Sure. So, excited to be here, first of all. Thanks for inviting me. I'd say everybody is creative. Some people think you're the creative type, I'm not the creative type, and you think some people are artists, the other people are not. But I think everybody is creative. The people who think they're not creative just haven't found their creative outlet yet. So we should all try to find our outlet. I mean, you think back when you were a little kid or you watch little kids, they're all so creative. We're amazed by them. And Picasso said, all children are artists. It's a matter of staying as an artist when you grow up. So I think we all have to get our artistic creativity back and have confidence about it. So that's one of them. The other thing I want to debunk really quickly is creativity is not about intuition or maybe aesthetics, but it is more of a strategy in my mind. It's more of a process, and I would love to talk more about it as we have this conversation.
Yeah, love that point. Creativity is inherent in all of us. It's just finding it, and also creativity is tied to survival. It lives in the most ancient part of our brain, and in order to survive, we need to be creative. And whether that was a millennia ago or yesterday, creativity is about thriving and surviving as well. Young, let me continue with you. People tend to have these very romantic notions about creativity, like, waiting for the muse, right, is a particularly favorite saying of some. But designers work in the world of time and budgetary constraints. What are some tools and tactics that you use to amplify your creativity amidst limitations, and maybe that you talk to your students about utilizing?
Great question. So maybe you just start from the definition of creativity first, because yes, there's a lot of different thoughts about it. Is it intuition? Is it aha moment? You probably heard of the word eureka. Is it something that just pops up in your head? So I want to start from the definition, and for that I would maybe start from science. So John Cunius is a psychology professor at University of Drexel. And then he does a lot of research on neuroscience of creativity. I know we're going to talk about brain science a little later, but I would love to introduce an idea because I love his definition of creativity. His definition of creativity is something that allows you to come up with an idea or perspective or a solution that is non-obvious. And that's how he said it. I think there are two key points in his definition of creativity. One is the solution part. It's not artistic ability. It's more of a solution. The second part is non-obvious, coming up with something that hasn't been done before or for this person that haven't thought about before. So I think those are really important points. Because if you think of it that way, creativity is less about aesthetics or style or beauty or being artistic, but it is more of a problem-solving tool. In that way, I think it ties nicely to the whole idea of coming up with a strategy or idea to solve the problem. And that's where the business comes in. Because in a way, we designers are not artists. We love to be artistic, but we're different from artists who are expressing our own personal expression through art. But we're designers, we have clients, we have budgets, schedule, all the constraints that exist. But to make us more creative, then we have to think about interior design as a business. We're in a creative business, and that's what IIDA is all about. I understand. And I have a strategic mindset to solve that. To do that, maybe we should align our idea of creativity with what the business goal is for our clients or people we're working with. And if we align with our client's goal and also have a human-centered mindset at the end, that brings a more creative solution for them. And we have to sell that idea through storytelling and other part of it. But I think that's how we connect the bridge between design and business and get the idea across and sell our idea. And I have a good example of that. So I don't know if you guys know Nick Losetti. He's been around. He is well known, and actually he's very creative person and known for his kind of a mad scientist kind of vibe. People who know him think he's a crazy scientist guy or a creative guy. But actually, I was working with him. He was my boss and mentor for a long time. And our clients would usually say, I like your business sense, which is very different. He's known for his creativity, but also they like his business sense. And he has this innate ability to sell his creative ideas, kind of out there, crazy ideas, to his business clients because he understood what the goal was the business client was, and that made it really successful. So every time we were able to sell our creative idea or crazy idea out there, and then it made a successful project. So I would like to use that as a good example of it.
Yeah, that's a good, and creativity not just as an end unto itself, but remembering that we are in the business of problem solving. And so the practical, pragmatic side, and it doesn't mean that creativity can't be romantic. It can't be whimsical. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about the business of creativity, it is about solving a problem. Suzanne, let's talk about, right, there are so many intersections with creativity. Let's talk about that intersection between creativity and storytelling. I'm fascinated by, this idea of messaging. And do you find that the messaging matters even more than the solution when you're communicating with clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So that you just said it there. So storytelling is bringing somebody on a journey rather than changing something for them. So, I mean, we are, but in essence, if we're guiding them through a process. Most of the time, not most of the time, but a lot of clients may not be able to visualize. There could be a big change coming. There could be change management, change of building, change of location, change of job. So to guide people through the process is to give them a story. And most importantly, if it's coming from yourself, if it's personal anecdotes, it's outreaching to them to understand that you're relatable. And, they always say more importantly that they may not remember everything that you share. You could knock it out of the park and it could be, the best design concept, but they're really going to remember how you made them feel. So it's meeting people where they are and understanding, all of the people around you and what their needs are and to put them at ease. So the storytelling, well, there's that the connection piece of it. And then there is the piece of journeying them through what it is going to be like for them in that space. And we create a lot of stories and journeys to help mitigate that. And it also just sets a nice design story. It guides us through our own process. So there's this business side, and we're talking a lot about the client, but there's also our side of the business and how we all collaborate. And that is a huge piece of, leadership too, and guiding. I know we're going to speak a little bit, guiding people through a design process through budget or time constraints. So while all of that is happening and we're client facing, there's all of the back end of behind the scenes of what we're all doing too. So it's helping each other as well.
Yeah, that's your point, Suzanne, is so great because I think one of the things that, design says, that designers say with clients is come along with me, as opposed to me sitting at this higher plane and telling you something you must do. It's come along with me on this journey. It's consultative. It is a much deeper, closer relationship, and that's what storytelling does.
Yeah, it's trust.
Yeah, it's trust. Yeah.
And
Valerie?
An authenticity.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's almost like we have to rename it. It's story sharing. It's
Love that.
not the telling, right? It's about bringing people along, whether it's internal and we're trying to get the design teams to understand how things are working, or I have this great idea, you have this great idea. Let's, we have to sell it to each other before we get in front of the client. And then, of course, the storytelling is at its base essence, creativity in itself. Of how can you tell the story? How can you hit those emotional moments and help people feel connected to it and stay authentic? When I was listening to Young talk about, creativity as a business sense, and the definition of it, just how can you rethink something? All I could think about was dude wipes, and like how how brilliant and creative was that you literally just took the baby wipes and were like, we're just going to rebrand this. And they made tons of money and were able to branch off into other things. But that's kind of a perfect example of simple creativity and the story that went along with it, so that they appealed to a market that was ignored previously.
Yeah. I wasn't sure where you were going at first with dude wipes, so
keeping you on your toes, Cheryl.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I think you've just added a word to our design lexicon. I love story sharing. That's so apt. And right, that's how humans learn best is through story sharing. Yong had mentioned, she queued us up to talk a little bit about brain science. And I'll ask the three of you, is there any research on brain science behind creativity that you each find particularly intriguing or that informs your own creative practice? So what are some insights that you all can offer us that? And I mean, Valerie, I'm going to turn right back to you on this one.
Yeah. So two sides here, but I think the one that excites me the most, I was reading about a creative brain study that was being done through the University of Utah. And it's really hard to get in and measure the neuroscience, without getting people all wired up. And so they were actually able to capitalize on a group of people who had already kind of raised their hand to be part of a study because of epilepsy that they had. So they had nodes actually implanted in their brains. And so they were able to tap into some of those things and measure the creativity aspect. And what they were able to prove as part of this study was that creativity stems out of our default mode network. And if you're not familiar with the default mode network, it is it's the network in our brain that lights up when you're calm, when you're daydreaming and looking out a window, when you're kind of at peace and just floating along. And I think hopefully that's already triggering some thoughts in terms of why that would be important for creativity. But the other interesting thing that they found is that there's many other networks that light up at the same time. And it's during creative tasks that the default mode network and the cognitive control network light up simultaneously. And there's no other things that we do that they found that turn those two on at the same time. And the cognitive control network is really focused on like the analytical, making sense, reasoning kind of things. And so what they have deduced by that is that when they turn on together, you are able to come up with ideas and then cycle through them and figure out which ones are your best. And so that's how your brain starts to work, which I thought was so fun to hear. And then further on in that study, they shared that depending on where you are in your expertise level, if you're more of a novice or if you're an expert, your brain actually lights up in different ways. And this is actually where I'll go back to the right brain, left brain thing comes into play. That if you are an expert, it tends to be more lit in the left hemisphere of your brain. Because it's more efficient and your activation level is a little more tight. Whereas if you're a novice, you're more light, you have more electricity going on in your right hemisphere, and it's a much larger spread of data because you're being very conscious and deliberate about things. So you're using different networks a little bit more versus this automatic and implicit kind of idea that the experts would have. Which to me signals that we need to be really curious and push ourselves to learn new things because we want everything lighting up and being exciting and learning stuff. So that had me crazy when I read that. That's cool.
And so moving out of our comfort zone is a great supporter of creativity and a great supporter of a lit brain.
A lit brain, yeah.
I love that. Love that.
So that made me really excited. I love that. And then in terms of how I'm, using science in my practice, obviously we're trying to do a lot in terms of just guiding design through science and working very closely with academics and Dr. Sally Augustine and folks to help push design and understand how what we do innately as good design can be measured in a contextual way to show that it does impact our human outcomes. And that has been a driving force behind my practice here at IA and what I'm doing with my group. And it's been really rewarding to be able to see how much that can really push. And it's intriguing to people to know that design has so much power behind it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Valerie. Suzanne, let's what insight into brain research or brain science can you share with us?
Well, let me tell you a story. No, I'm just kidding. So I read this book last summer, and when this came up, I thought this would be really interesting. And this is more on the personal side and coming from the designer, the designer side. Arthur C. Brooks wrote a book called Strength to Strength, and this was recommended to me by a physician. And it was because I had a big birthday last year. And so so we were just chatting and, saying, oh, this is going to be your best time of your life. I heard that over and over again, and I wasn't really believing it. So he's like, you have to read this book. And so was so fascinating. It was really talking about two types of brains in the sense of how we work and learn. So there's the fluid intelligence and there's crystallized intelligence. And fluid intelligence is the age of 20 to 30 when you are the fastest, most innovative, rapid thinking, and momentum, complex ideas. It is a very limited time. It can go into the mid 30s, but he was talking about this, but it does drop off considerably. And what was great about the book was showing all of these examples of where maybe someone that was in the more senior years were still trying to be in this fluid intelligence, and it wasn't. And I'm talking Nobel Prize winners it wasn't working. And so the crystallized intelligence is the instructor phase. So this is where we take more contrasting ideas and can put them together. We guide, we have deeper knowledge. There's the wisdom piece, the mentoring piece. But the great part about this is that it's much longer and it actually gets deeper. So with that, it was interesting because I started shifting a bit about 3 years ago in how I was working. And it wasn't something intentional, but it was something what I enjoyed. And it was, watching and working and guiding designers in their unbelievable ideas, but then, guiding them through a process and then stepping back and using my prior experience. And then I have people, that I look to that do that for me as well. So it was really, it felt great kind of reading it and going, oh, this is what this is. And that's okay. And it's okay if I'm not in that high speed, fast lane right now. I want to sink into this lane. It doesn't mean we're not innovative by any means, but we are allowing, where these strengths are and kind of sinking and honing into where I feel more comfortable now. So it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. And that really emphasizing that connection between, wisdom and connection.
Yeah.
Right. It's that deep thinking.
Yeah. And the piece of it was that it just reiterates that if you're unclear where you are and it's to shift and to let go. As well. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks.
Arthur C. Brooks. Yep.
Arthur
It's a
C.
great
Brooks.
book. And the other I will add to it, what I loved about his writing is that he kind of also, it's in an understandable read. It's not a thick science book by any means. But he also he weaves in his own beliefs in it. He has a little bit of spirituality in it. So there's this nice piece about how he weaves science into bigger things.
To the bigger things.
Yeah.
I love that. Yong, did you have a resource or a tool that you wanted to add?
Yeah, of course. I can't stop talking about brain science. I love this conversation. So I will continue on John Cunha's research, his neuroscience of creativity he talks about. He talks about this idea of whole brain creativity because going back to what Valerie was saying earlier, you're using both left and right at the same time. So there, depending on the type of problem you're having, you're using different solutions and things light up at the same time, left and right that lights up at the same time. The whole idea about neuroplasticity is basically your brain is keep changing. So in the past, we thought brain is set after a certain age, you're done. But actually, that's not true. Our brain is keep changing. So the more you be creative and make more connection between the left and right, and then the creative side and the analytical side, then you become more creative and become better at it. So what they call the scientists call as type 1 thinking is that creative thinking. And what they call type 2 thinking is the more analytical focused thinking. And both are needed and both are happening at the same time, depending on the problem you have. And you're using both sides of the brain for to solve the problem you have in hand. And what he says, because when you ask the scientist, how do you be more creative? His solution is to the things we already know in a way, to be in a positive mood, good mood. So because it's not in a fight or flight situation that you are comfortable in a good mood. A little bit of a mind wandering helps. So being a little bit in the fuzzy state helps. He did mention alcohol, which was interesting, but also a little sleepiness. A lot of sleep definitely helps. And also, if you're a morning person, then maybe try to do your most creative work in the afternoon and vice versa. Because again, you want to be in that mind that you're a little bit fuzzy, not just focused on something too much, but that helps with the creativity. Your brain likes that. And then also he says, spend time and practice being creative. So actually do a lot of creative work and make it a habit to be more creative. It could be a little sketching or things you can do every day. And then also be professional at something so you can get into the flow state. It's kind of related to what Val was talking about earlier, that you're a novice versus an expert. But if let's say you're a piano player and then you're just learning how to play piano, then you're more focused and try to get the sound right and everything. But if you're professional at it, then you can become a jazz pianist and improvise, and that makes you more creative too. So I thought those were really interesting topics.
Yeah.
And one other science related to creativity is the Stanford researchers found that creative thinking is increased by 60% while walking too. And that's another thing that John has recommended is do walking or maybe take a shower. So it's interesting. The science proved that the things that we already do, there's science behind it. We just have to do more of it.
I love that. Habits, routines, and rituals matter, and they can enhance our creativity. That's great. Thank you for that, Yong. Let me. Oh, yeah, please, Valerie.
Working with Dr. Sally, red, stay away from red. Red is having red around you is a creativity killer. And supposedly science has proved that as well. So you don't want red in your line of sight if you're trying to be creative.
Literally the color red?
Literally the color red.
That is okay. So now we're going to
she also said more green, right?
More
a certain type of green.
Green, obviously, yes. Green is great, all of the things, but red is directly related to being a creativity killer. And I didn't know that. I was like, that's amazing. Interesting.
All right.
Such a popular color in business.
Note to self. Yeah. Yong, let me bounce back to you and just have you continue this line of thought around, for you personally, where do you find inspiration? What are kind of your greatest influences? And I'll fall back on my ritual comment earlier. Are there any creative rituals that you swear by?
Yeah. So people who know me know that I'm a dot collector. I talk a lot about dots. My students know this. Not that I'm a lover of a polka dot or anything, but I think of dot as an inspiration, a point. It could be an experience. It could be something you read. It could be something you heard. It could come from experience or research. And I think it's really important to collect dots. And it goes back to the point of curiosity. because I think curiosity is a prerequisite for creativity. And I love this phrase. I can put this on and print it as a bumper sticker and put it on my car. Curiosity to me is collecting dots, and creativity is connecting dots. And I think those are really important. So the whole idea of being curious, collecting, observant and collecting data. It could be scientific data, it could be something you read, it could be getting inspired by other people who think differently from you. I think that's really important asset to be creative. But it shouldn't stop there. But after you collect a lot of things, then you have to connect it. And I think that goes back to the brain science we are talking about, making connection between left and right. And I think that's a great metaphor for it, connecting the left and right and draw conclusion, like synthesize and analyze and come up with a conclusion after that. I think that helps with the creativity in my mind. And the connection is where it makes sense for me. It's important for me. And then also reframing the question. So when you get a brief or trying to solve a problem, don't just take it as a face value, but reframe it and rethink about it. What are we really trying to solve in here? Let's say like a business problem. When your client comes to you and say, we want a collaboration space. Just don't stop opening on Rapid and jumping and start drawing boxes to create a collaboration space, but really step back and think about what is the problem? Are we solving a issue of belonging? Is it an issue of a culture? I think reframing the problem is really important. So that's one thing I love doing to get inspiration and to make the connection. And the other thing is have a wide range of interests and a lot of different things. We talked about generalist and specialist in our industry and which one's more important. But I would say both. So the mindset I want to have is a T-shaped mindset. So you have to have a deep expertise in something that you're passionate about. Maybe that's design, but also wide range of interest in other things. It goes back to the whole idea of collecting the dots. Yeah. I think it's really important that you have different interests that's not limited to just design related things. We should get out of our echo chambers. And we should just have a lot more different interests and many different things and try to connect the dots after collecting all of those. So, and working with people who are different from you, having like interdisciplinary collaboration, it's always helpful because you get inspired by people who are different from you.
Multiple points of view are so important. And whenever anyone asks me if I think that designers are generalists, my response is always they are serial specialists and able to move gracefully between many things, right? Not necessarily a Jill of all trades, but that ability to move between points of interest. And just as you said, Yong, connecting dots as well as collecting dots. As humans, we naturally order things. Love randomization, but as human beings, we're hardwired to order things, and that's that connecting dots. I love that. That's fantastic. Suzanne.
Richard Feynman said that, the physicist, not that I by any means read a ton about that, but I do find him very fascinating when he speaks or when he spoke. And so the dots, that was what he did, was you had to step back, do something else to connect the dots and bring things forward. So yeah.
Suzanne, do you have any rituals that you swear by?
I do. Well, you were mentioning Yong, you mentioned walking, and I know that everyone's, we say that, but it is really something that I do ritually all the time. And it's something that I've practiced. I take photos, and it's something I did many years ago. I used to use a Polaroid all the time. And so, film became a little bit of an issue, and so I use my phone. But I do, and I print them out. So I take photos, I take my neighborhood, ordinary things, maybe some interesting composition. It's not meant to be anything, I'm not setting out to do, photography in that sense, but just something that catches my eye. And I've collected them and I've printed them. So it used to, the Polaroid size, so that nice 4x4 or similar. And I've collected them. I have boxes of these photos, and you kind of go back and you pull them out and you can make stories with them. And you can also identify, it's a journal. maybe there was something, a thread that you were identifying with at that time of your life. So there's that piece of it. And I love the stories with it. I listen to a lot of music too when I walk, but that's something I really love. And it's kind of helps too. And looking at these little snapshots to kind of thread along a story that you may not even identify that you were doing it.
Mhm.
There's something there in the subconscious maybe that you're going to see behind those. So
Mhm.
it's fun.
That's great. I want to see your photos sometime.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Valerie, we talked a little bit about how creativity is innate in us as human beings. It's DNA deep. It's what makes us human. So let's have the AI conversation, right? How do you think the rise, the ascendance, the readily availableness of AI will affect creativity and the creative work that we do? And then do you use AI as a tool? And if so, what's your use case for AI? That was a lot. There was a lot in that one question, but
No, that's okay. If I don't hit on something, let me know.
yeah.
But first question, how is it going to impact our creativity?
Yes.
I think there's still a lot of debate on that.
Mhm.
And there are definitely studies that have already been published to show how it's had some negative cognitive decline impacts. But we have to just be careful about how we use it. I don't think it's automatically bad. I don't think it's automatically good. Everything in moderation, including AI, it makes sense to me. And I think the nice thing about it is that when you think about creativity, especially if you're not necessarily a creative, quote unquote, or maybe you're just having one of those blocked moments where you just can't get going, I think AI is a perfect friend to take the white off the paper. And that's how I look at it in terms of like getting your head going someplace. And AI, there's a lot of pitfalls with AI. It certainly has, they're finding that the more you interact with one chat, the more garbage you get out of it. So there's all kinds of issues with it still, right? We have a little ways to go before it's this perfect complement. But there are also studies that show that the top 10% of ideas are generated when you're using AI in a group. So, can you find ways to balance it again? Like, can you feed it something really interesting, get the white off the paper, get in a room with people, still interact with each other, and then continue use the AI to brainstorm? So again, it's being smart about how you use it and incorporating it in a way that doesn't just take away your ability to think critically about stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, there's still a lot to study, and I'm sure we'll continue to see contradicting studies around it's good, it's bad, it's killing us, it's making us thrive, all the things. But in terms of how I use it, I have found it to be, again, it's great to take the white off the paper. It's great to say, I have this thought, I'm giving you all of my thought. Now, can you give me 3 options on what I could do with this thought? There's like things like that you can do that I find very helpful. It is annoyingly positive. It is an annoying cheerleader. It definitely will lead you astray very quickly. But I also think there's some power in that because it will hopefully teach us to be more critical about what we're reading, right? So there's a benefit to that. And I've gone as far as I have created my own agents, and we use different agents for different reasons in the firm. And I think there's a reason to have some of those to take away, the things that you don't like doing. It's like find the most mundane task that you really despise and make an agent to do it for you. And that hopefully then gives you the time to do the stuff that you love more, which is the creative stuff.
Leaning into the admin side,
Yeah.
AI as an admin assistant.
Right.
And I'm kind of ordering the things that you said in my brain, but that also not outsourcing your thought to AI, but having it offer you options.
Amplify it. Yeah.
Yeah, amplify it. Yeah.
It does tend to be interesting, and sometimes it just gives you absolute garbage. But there might be one word in there that makes you go, "Oh my God, like that was it." Even the image creation stuff, we do play with that. There'll be a moment where it's like I really love this photo, but I so wish it had this element in it. And you just drop them in and go do that. And you have this beautiful photo that's got both things now merged together and it's instantaneous. You're like, that's cool. Like, so it's got some really great power to it. But again, judge, jury still out. I think at this point it's just being smart about it and then really leaning into like, how can I use this with a group? How can I get the white off the paper? How can I push my thinking? And how can I use it to stay critical? Those are my recommendations with AI.
Yep. And exercising our discernment around what is authentic versus what is artificial too.
Absolutely.
So
no, it has killed the M dash, which I really am sad about.
There's a whole discussion around that M dash. Again, part 2 of this conversation.
Yeah.
Suzanne.
Yeah.
Suzanne and AI.
Very new. Suzanne and AI just met, and we don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's interesting. I know there's probably coworkers watching this and laughing right now. But I mean, something that it is not new to Canon by any means, but it is something that I am learning. I have a fellow design leader in my office who is actually Mike Tunke, who is really launching a lot of this at Canon. But what I love, and because we're of the same generation, I'm a very haptic, I'm an analog person. I mean, I am tactile. There's a lot of science between, and that is not going away. And I could talk about that all day long, especially with students with the hand brain piece of this. But so we're doing some innovative things. I mean, and I'm just learning it. It can be a little wild when you're trying to do visuals. You really have to know prompts and know how to talk to it, and that's the funny part. You can get some very wild things. So we're looking at mixing, AI and craft. So it's still, we've done model building and then have morphed it into animations, then have gone into interior renovations. So you're looking at, I was calling it advanced stop motion. And it's really interesting. We've done it that way. We've done it with ideas to workshop, do visualizations with clients, making games with it, doing it using words and poetry and ideas of storytelling. Interior designers now here are starting to do really early iterations of interior renderings, not really to show, this is going to be your space or this is your entry in the lobby. It's really just, again, with the storytelling. If you can come with something that isn't a precedent, it's something you actually did create, you thought of, but it has a different look or appeal, and you can kind of keep the almost the branding of your story thread throughout. So we're doing that, and as well as like innovation management, and that's something else on another side of our more market strategy kind of group, that our AMP group here, is that there's another side to that as well, probably similar to what Valerie does. So yeah.
And Suzanne, have you seen the poetry camera?
No.
It just seems like something that would be so up your alley, because it's a camera. They teach you how to make it, but it's an AI-based thing, and you take a picture of whatever you want, and instead of printing out your picture like a Polaroid, it prints out a poem describing what it sees.
Well, that's lovely.
That was so fun.
Yeah, that's lovely. And I love, Suzanne, that you and AI are, recently figuring out your relationship.
See.
Yeah.
We've gone out a couple times.
Yeah. Okay.
You're talking.
Keep talking. We'll check back in. We'll see how that relationship is going. Let's shift a little bit, and I am being mindful of time, and I want to make sure that we have some time for some audience questions. So we're going to move through these next few questions. But Suzanne, while I've got you right here, after your AI relationship breakdown, discourse with us. One of the hallmarks of collective design is not just offering insight, but also guidance and advice. And I would love to hear from you. What advice do you have for designers maybe especially younger designers or emerging designers, for those moments when they feel that they're in a creative rut? How can they reignite that spark? We've all been there.
Yeah. So, and I do teach. I'm an adjunct, not all the time. So I do come across this and with my team as well. And it is that haptic piece of it. It is really, and also embracing ambiguity. It is a skill to know that things are uncertain. You have to step back and loosen up and embrace that piece of it. It doesn't mean not to, it's go off and do 40 different things and multitask, but there is something about stepping back and using your hands, doing something else. I cook, I work on the house, I go outside, I actually do things. And that's the connecting of the dots, because in the back of your brain, you are working your problem out. And it may be through a color, it may be through fixing something, it may be just your whole body just relaxing. So there is a piece to that. And also just ideation. I don't want to say go faster. It's not the point of going faster, but it is about move on. You don't be so tight with everything. It's not working, or maybe it is. Have 50 different iterations on a Miro board. That let's go back and look at it. And it is about loosening up and enjoying it, because it can get stressful. I think we all know this on our large projects, and you're a young designer and you just don't think you're getting it. But you are. And sometimes you just need another person to come in and kind of guide that, shape it, help you see where your successes are. And then you can relax a bit and keep moving. So, but it's the hands and the body movement.
Yes, that's great. I loved your kind of sit with it, but then also move with it. My mom, who was a scientist, used to say, revel in it, but don't wallow in it.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so enjoy the process, but don't get too immersed in it, and then be able to
Easier
just
said
move
than done,
on.
but
It's
yes.
so easier said than done. Yong, is there any advice that you give to your students when they're in a rut?
Yes, actually, I want to use an example here. So I put together a guest speaker series at Purdue. So I'm inviting industry experts, because one of my goals is connecting academia and industry. So I'm inviting a lot of people in. So my recent guest was Cindy Coleman. I don't know if you guys know her.
Yeah.
So she's a design researcher, strategist, and amazing person. She's a good friend of mine and also my mentor. So I invited her to talk about design research. And we had a really interesting exercise with the students, and I want to share that with you because it's really important. The title of the talk was Framing the Problem, Question the Question Before You Answer It. I think that's a great way to start a creative process. Again, it kind of ties back to what I said earlier about just don't accept the brief and run with it, but question it. And what's the right question to ask here? So she gave us a task to do two things. One is draw a vase. So we all got our Post-it notes or pad and draw a vase, and we shared it with each other. Second question was design the way to experience flower. Think about that. So now you're doing totally different mindset. You have a totally different mindset of approaching the problem. So the answers of both exercise was very different. The first one was a container with water in it. That's what we know as a vase. Second one, if you change your mindset to think creatively, then now you have people smelling flower. There's people giving flowers. There's an emotion attached to it. There's a sensory element to it. You draw flower on the wall, like so many different ways to experience flowers. So I would like to recommend a way to change your mindset and start from a different way to approach the problem and ask the right question from the beginning. I think that's one recommendation I have for the students and young designers. Don't just jump into Pinterest board and start doing a cookie cutter design. If I can see one more arch in my students' work without anything connected to it, they're like, oh, it's cool. But why is it cool? Are you solving any problem with this? If it's related to your concept or if it's related to your design, problem, then I'm good with it, but don't bring it in because it
Yeah.
looks nice. So just changing a mindset and having questioning the problem is one thing. Other thing I do want to talk to them a lot, to students and young designers, is the process of design process. The creativity has to be built into the design process itself. And then the process that I learned, and I think it's really helpful, is the design thinking process of diverging and converging. So expand first, and then converge it and synthesize it and come to a conclusion, and then diverge again and converge again. And you can think of it as almost during schematic design phase, you diverge and converge. And then after you converge, then diverge again and converge again during the DD phase. That kind of goes with the dot story again. Be curious, expand your knowledge, collect a lot of things, and then converge and synthesize and come to conclusion, and repeat that. I think that kind of strategy and finding the pattern for that strategy makes you more creative. And I would highly recommend that process. It's effective.
Yeah. Let me grab for you all before we get to our kind of last final questions. There's a question, and a couple of versions of this question have popped up from the audience. If someone wanted to do one thing today to get more creative, they wanted to take one concrete action, what would each of you suggest? Like one thing. They want to do one thing today.
Allow
Valerie?
yourself to be bored.
Ooh, okay. Fantastic.
Just give
Boredom is not bad.
No, boredom is not bad. We don't let it happen. So it's like, allow your brain to shut down. Just be present, be bored, see how your mind wanders, look out a window, stare at the sky.
I was just going to say, do nothing.
Do nothing. Yeah.
Because I know I said I'm countering myself because I said earlier, what is creativity? And it's doing. So, but in hindsight, it's also just it's be still, have a moment, and listen to yourself. I mean, there's something about being in tune to your surroundings. And even if you're around other people, there's a skill to that, to be able to collaborate, but still be quiet.
Yeah. We're so intently intent on our to-do list, or moving from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. People who live their lives in professional services, where billable is a reality of life, this idea of doing nothing or staring at the ceiling or whatever it is you need to do is almost anathema. Right? It also, some of that comes from hustle and grind culture as well, but that ability to be still is powerful, really powerful. Yong, what's your one concrete thing for somebody?
I think it makes sense that we're on the same panel, because I was going to say walk in the park. It's kind of aligned with what you guys are saying, but I do want to add one more thing, is the idea of a play. Have fun, play with it, explore, tinker. I think that's really important for us designers. Come up with a lot of different options. Talk to people who are different from you, and get inspired by it. I think play with it and have fun with creativity. It's meant to be fun. Our business is meant to be fun. And I think it's perfect that the title of this talk is Business of Creativity, because it's merging two things together, and then we should have fun while we're doing it.
Have fun while we're doing it. Yeah. Whimsy and delight and joy should not ever be forgotten. They're a part of what design gives the world, and so much a part of what the human soul requires, and what designers give to the world as well. As we move into wrap up, I want to ask you all kind of one last question. We have about 3 or 4 minutes left. What is one thing that's making each of you feel optimistic about the future of creativity? So take about 2 seconds. And Valerie, I'm going to turn right to you.
Sure.
You're in the midst of the Certified Design Futurist course.
Yes.
And where you're talking about strategy and strategic forecasting and future. What's making you optimistic about the future of creativity?
I mean, I think it's everything that we've talked about here today, is that we're aware of it. We're talking about it. We're trying to find ways to embrace it. We understand why it's elusive sometimes. And I think a lot of it really comes from this openness to be more like come out of our silo and lean into the science. I mean, the fact that you have 3 people on this panel right now that are talking about the science and the neuroscience of design when none of us are scientists speaks volumes to the fact that we are finally learning to lean into the research that others have devoted their lives to, and have can bring so much insight to our future and how we design spaces for people and educate our clients. And I think we're living in a super exciting time. I think there's so many different things that can impact creativity, research. The more we know, it's great, but we're also totally inundated. So how do you collect those dots in a way that they're strung together like a pearl necklace rather than a starry sky? You have to be able to make sense of things. And I think the research methodology, the way science approaches things, academia mixes, all of these parts and pieces is what's going to make creativity just really shine over the next decade.
Great. Jan, what are you optimistic about?
I'm excited about the opportunity. There are more and more opportunities to connect the dots, I see. I see it everywhere. The interdisciplinary collaboration we talked about earlier, I think is a big part of it. There's a lot of collaboration between academia and design industry. I see some manufacturers doing it. Some firms are leading the effort. There's a connection with ANFA, which is the Neuroscience for Architecture group. And so that type of collaboration is more opportunity to connect the dots that leads us to creativity. So we're not in our echo chamber just talking to ourselves. So that's hopeful.
Yeah.
The other part I want to talk about is the actually IIDA Certified Design Futurist program makes me really hopeful. And I'm a certified CDF as well.
Yeah.
And I think by learning that process, that it does connect a lot of different dots, and it almost reinforces you to look outside of your own industry and look at all these 11 different macro changes or reasons for change. So sources for change. I think those are all great way to connect different dots and think more future focus and more creatively. So hopeful for that.
Suzanne, bring us on home. What are you optimistic about?
So a word came up yesterday in my office, algorithmless. So it was we were just chatting about because of AI, there is a lot of we're doing both. Is the more we do that, the more we are going the other way. Younger folks listening to CDs, tapes are back, tape players are back. Dumb phones. There is an architect that works next to me that has one now. And also, I didn't realize this. I have coworkers that have blocks on their phones, timers on their phones to stop them from. I didn't know any of this. So, I mean, which leads me to more critical thinking, more tactile learning, more appreciation of time, being focused. I think it's gone so much this way. And it's not just us, it's a very younger generation. They were telling me that their kids are starting to embrace, maybe because it's cool, but they're listening to tapes and CDs. So that just came up. I thought it was fun to kind of think about it. It did bring a smile to my face to hear that. So
I love that, algorithm less and
that's a word.
more joy scrolling instead of doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to this panel. There have been a couple of requests out there. Storytelling and story sharing struck a chord with a lot of people, and I can definitely recommend a book called How to Tell a Story. It's the essential guide to memorable storytelling. It's from The Moth. Phenomenal about increasing your storytelling acumen and how to engage people through storytelling. So we've had lit brains, we've had neuroplasticity, we've had connecting dots and collecting dots. We went from dude wipes to neuroscience and came back around the bend to living an algorithmless life and bringing more joy, delight, whimsy, blue sky, green grass, and being still, all to increase our acumen around creativity. This could easily be the art of creativity, but today was the beauty of creativity, the business of creativity, with a phenomenal panel. On behalf of IIDA, thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Yong. Thank you, Suzanne. And thanks to our media partner, Dezeen, for supporting collective design and today's program. Thank you to the audience. We could not do this without you all, so thank you for your continued support of IIDA. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe.